Well, everyone, it's time for us to break down the good and the bad of the iPhone SE 3rd generation. Now, without a doubt, this iPhone is not perfect. There are, no iPhone is really perfect, let's be honest, except for the 13 Pro. But starting off with some of the good things, it's the cheapest priced iPhone you can buy. If you want to go brand new in the market, this is probably one of the cheaper options you have. So I think that's a great thing. I love having a cheaper option if you want. And this device does have the latest chipset inside of it too. So that's another big thing you have to keep in mind. When you have something like the iPhone SE 3rd generation, you are getting a phone that's not only going to last a very long amount of time, but it's theoretically just as fast as something like an iPhone 13. So that's a really good thing. And I love seeing that type of stuff as well. It has Touch ID on the front, which is great. You have the fingerprint sensor, which I prefer over Face ID, and it's a fast phone. Probably it's going to be extremely blazing fast. And one thing, because that screen is pretty low resolution for nowadays, it should be theoretically faster than some other phones, including maybe an iPhone 13. Who knows, And it also has 5G now, which is awesome. And those are pretty much the good things I can tell you about the iPhone SE 3. Now let's go and start talking about some of the bad things, which there's a lot of them, to be honest. With something like the iPhone SE 3, they didn't really fix anything that was wrong with the iPhone SE 2nd generation. For a lot of the complaints that we had with that iPhone, it was pretty much the camera, the body, and pretty much the battery life. And in this specific case, those problems still exist. Now, they do mention that there's a leap in battery life. In my experience, anytime Apple has ever made a crazy claim about battery life, especially when it comes down to the chipset, it's pretty much never been accurate before. Even with something like an iPhone 12, they said, oh, it's going to give you better battery life or the same great battery life as before. It was never the case. It was always worse. Battery size is probably the most important thing when it comes down to the actual performance, especially in the battery department. The iPhone 11, which was notorious of having some of the best battery life of all time, the battery life is still amazing. That has the same chipset as the iPhone SE 2. So just because it has the same chipset, I can definitely tell you that's not everything. Definitely the chipset has something to do with it, but it's usually the battery size. So in this case, some people have said that it's going to give you about the same battery life as an iPhone 12 mini, and that was notorious of having pretty bad battery life as well. So it may be an improvement from the iPhone SE2, but it's not going to be as crazy, and I would be surprised if it's even maybe lasts you an extra 30 minutes or an hour, to be honest, at this point. Now the screen and the body is pretty outdated, as I had mentioned. It's one of those things that when you buy this phone, it's already outdated as you get it. Really, the 5G is the best thing, but that's also kind of an ongoing thing. And it's definitely, not something that you need right now, to be honest. I don't even have 5G enabled on my phone either right now because it takes up a lot of battery life and there's not a lot of towers in my area. Now, another thing is with the camera. This is something that I think should have been updated in some form or fashion. I find it very weird that they didn't actually go ahead and either add a dual camera setup on this thing. I feel like they could have done it at this point. I understand they wanted to keep it the same body and everything, but they made no visual changes from the SE2 to the SE3, and that's kind of an issue. Now, they do mention that the A15 Bionic is going to allow you to do more things and this and that. I am unsure if things like cinematic mode are going to be brought in here. Maybe you need dual cameras for that. That would have been awesome. But as far as I know, the same resolutions are on the front and the back. And again, this is kind of a disadvantage. When you look at the landscape of brand new iPhones you can buy, the iPhone 11 is only slightly more expensive than this iPhone. And I feel like you could easily go and maybe save up $70 and buy an iPhone 11, or you can even buy it cheaper in the used market than an iPhone SE 3rd generation. So it makes even less sense to buy this iPhone because you can buy an iPhone 11 for cheaper, and maybe an iPhone XR is probably a better phone than this one. That's kind of maybe, having a little bit more. I may have to wait to get it to, do a full camera comparison and everything, but I really don't like how they increased the price tag this time around as well. I really didn't appreciate that. It's only going through this trend of products getting more and more expensive. They did not increase the price of the iPad Air 5, but they increased the price of this thing. I don't really understand that. I feel like they could have done a better job, to be honest. So those are the good and bad of the iPhone SE 3 as I see it right now. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, so long.